the next speaker together with me, which is Dr. Mirko Rennert from Twins Crew GmbH in Germany. He's the first speaker and the only speaker today that is not looking into food applications out of byproducts, but actually looking into how the coffee byproducts can also be used in different other ways, so in non-food applications. So I'm very happy we have Dr. Rennert also here today with us, and I'm looking forward to his presentation. So Dr. Rennert, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you can already see my presentation.
Yes, we can see it. Maybe you can pump up the volume and be a little louder. You are not very loud in the moment.
Okay, better now?
A little better, but maybe a little bit more.
Ooh, okay. Actually, wait. What about that?
Oh, much better.
Much better. Okay.
I think it's fine if you can give a little bit more, like 10%.
Okay. What's about now?
Oh, that sounds quite good. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just for you, I installed my better microphone, but yeah, now it's working, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. So the stage is yours. Thank you for joining us and getting some great ideas to us what to be doing with coffee byproducts in non-food applications.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Schwarz, for this nice introduction. And yeah, thanks for being part again here at the Coffee Symposium. So I've learned a lot about coffee during the last year due to all of you. So I'm very happy to be part again, even if I will not talk about non-food applications. So this is my topic. And when I was preparing this presentation, I was asking myself, yeah, well, what is the current market situation regarding organic non-food applications? So, and I took a look into the US market because they have the highest consumption in organic products right now. Yeah, and as you can see, there's during all the last years, there's a huge increase basically in the consumption of organic products. And here you can see the differentiation between organic food, yeah, that people claim that it's better for us because it comes from biogenic agriculture without synthetic pesticides, for example. And you can also see that the amount of the organic non-food product is increasing as well. And when I was researching what does it mean, organic non-food, and then it mainly means textiles, yeah, so organic clothes. It means organic products for our daily body care, for example, like cosmetics and things like that. So, and not much more like that. So, and I was a little bit disappointed. And I come from the field of plastics. So I worked in the industry for producing films. Now I have my own company with the Twins Crew. And parallel to that, I'm also working at the university dealing with plastics and especially with bioplastic. And as you can see here in this diagram, this is the main disappointing point that you can see the total production of plastics per year, and that bioplastics today, so that means also organic non-food product, is less than 1% of the total amount of plastic which is produced per year. So most of the plastic comes still from oil. And that's the point, yeah? When we speak about organic non-food, then it means organic means carbon-based, yeah? Everything that contains carbon. And so this is a kind of disappointing. And why is it like that? For sure, it has our whole economic system now is based on the fossil fuels, yeah, on coal, on gas, and especially on oil. Yeah? Think about transportation, and yeah, and plastics actually are a byproduct of the oil, yeah, because naphtha is just one fraction when the oil is cracked and yeah, bring to the industry. So nevertheless, we try to work on the better image for bioplastics and to have a better circular economy. Yeah? And yeah, due to that, for sure, we have to do a lot of research. And here I brought a research which actually have yeah, a good motivation. So there were people in Frankfurt trying to analysis the concentration of toxic components in plastics. And here they compare bioplastics and conventional plastics based on oil. Yeah, and the result was, their conclusion was that in bioplastics today, there are more or less the same amount of toxic components as in conventional plastic. So that means in October, at the beginning of October, this paper was published, and 1 day later, you can imagine, yeah, there were a lot of newspaper mails like bioplastics just as toxic as other plastic. Study finds bioplastic, etc., etc. Yeah. So, and this is what all of the people are reading. Yeah. So they are disappointed that bioplastic are the same as bad as conventional plastic, and this is something, yeah, which demotivates me a little bit. Yeah, because sometimes years of research can be destroyed by just one media article like this. And so I think this is something we have to work on, because when you take a deeper look into this paper, it is not bad. Yeah, but what the people have done there is not what is realistic today, because it needs to be said that basically plastics and bioplastics getting in contact with food, for example, have a strong regulation. There are a lot of standards and rules that you have to be followed, that you can prove. There is no migration and things like that. Yeah. So, but this is just one side of the medal. And yeah, here, if this phrase is once into the head of the broad community, then the microplastic have a problems. So, and I don't want to say that this is good, because there are parts which are real. And but let me just explain how can it be that there are basically so much additives inside bioplastics. I have to say that the bioplastic basically is always a biopolymer or two or even more plus additives. We always need additives. I will show you why. And when we take a look back to the history, then it needs to be said that until the 1970s, most of our today known bioplastics were already investigated. So the people already investigated what does already exist in the nature, yeah, and how can we transfer that knowledge into industrial products. But then, all of you know that, yeah, in the 1920s, there was after the big crisis, the Industrial Revolution came, and the people recognized, hey, with oil, it's much more economic, it's much better to produce, we can get low prices. So yeah, the oil-based plastics rise and rise, and so all the bioplastic products get out of the market. And here you see also that we always need matrix polymers, as I told you, and we always need additives. And when you see here, we are now in 2021, yeah, and we are meanwhile have understand that it cannot be good to use always oil-based plastics. So that's why we are in a kind of transmission area. That means most of the plastics today are still oil-based, as I have shown. But at least now most of the people understand that we need to change it. That means currently we can find plastics which contain still oil-based polymers, but at least bio-based additives. And on the other side, bio-based polymers with still conventional synthetic oil-based additives. And my hope, and hopefully the hope of all of you, is that in the next centuries, we can be able to avoid fossil fuels and oil to produce plastics, to get more to true bio-based plastics. And for sure, there will always be a residue of oil-based, because all of the plastics we have today, we need to try to recycle. So then we can bring it into a conventional circle again, and this would make more sense just to burn it or things like that. So why do we need such a high amount of stabilizers or additives? Yeah, usually when the people try to process polymers to a product, yeah, they use the raw polymer, and now they add the additives. And this can be another polymer, so a blend partner that we have to divide between miscible. Is it compatible? Is it immiscible? This is highly relevant. For sure, then maybe we want to have a pigment because the people want to have a certain color. Yeah, this can be organic, inorganic, effect pigments, etc. The highest amount of additives that is used are stabilizers. Stabilizers means that are additives that prevent the plastic before degradation. For example, flame retardants. So that means if the plastic starts to burn, right, these additives tries to prevent the flame. Or for example, UV resistance. Yeah, so that means whenever the plastic gets in contact with the sunlight, it can degrade very fast. So this needs to be prevented, because otherwise the plastic can break. So there are a lot of additives that are put inside these polymers. There are also a lot of fillers that can be minerals like calcium carbonate, for example. It can be carbon, glass beds. So they are needed for bringing mechanical properties, stiffness, mechanical strength, things like that. There can be a lot of liquid and viscous stabilizers inside, for example, helping to make the polymer processable, because this is sometimes necessary, because I will show you on the next slide, there are different steps to get from the raw polymer to the final product. And people sometimes need processing aids to get a processable polymer. And there can be also fibers. Yeah, maybe you've heard that glass fibers, rainforest polymers, carbon fibers, etc. Also, they have usually the function of improving mechanical properties. So a lot of potential additives, and they can now come. They are now batched into a so-called master batch. And when the people now buy this master batch and bring it together with raw polymer, then the people produce film out of that, or injector molded parts, profiles, tubes, pipes, whatever can be processed by polymers. And you can see the standard process chain of how polymers are processed today. Yeah, usually we have the polymerization process. So that means the oil companies who win the oil, they now try to crack down the oil to the monomers, and together with catalysts, together with different additives, they now produce long macromolecule chains. These are all polymers. Then they bought these polymers, for example, to people who compound it. That means the compounder bring now the polymer together with the stabilizers. And there could be a huge list. And here on the right side with the different colors, you see that only a short part of the used additives just have functional properties. Yeah, a lot of additives are used to create a certain structure for certain properties at the end of the day, or to optimize the process, to increase the output. So additives for a better economic production. Yeah, and this all together with the different process step makes it such complex that at the end of the day, there could be products who have more than 200 different additives in one polymer product. And for sure, if there's someone who's now analyzing these products, finding out there are so many additives inside, this is the maybe disappointing things for the broad society. Yeah. So, but when we're at the end of the day, do we have our product? What happens now? We have the usage time, and what happens then? This is always the important question. Actually, it should go back to the extrusion again. Yeah, so that means a full recycling of our polymer products. But you can imagine it depends on how the people collect all the polymer waste, how the people sort all the polymer waste, and this depends from even in Germany, from federal country to federal country, they have different systems, and this makes it very, very complicated. And usually today, just working is the so-called linear economy, as you can see on the left side. So that means when we have once our raw materials, we bring them to the production, as I've shown you in the different steps, then we use it. And at the end of the day, most of it goes to the dump site. Yeah. In Germany, less than 20% of all polymer products are really recycled. This is not very much. Yeah. The government has now set new goals up to 60% in 2025, I think, and up to 2030, they want to have 100% recycling rate. But yeah, we will see if we will be able to do that. Yeah. At least we come more and more from the linear economy to a recycling economy. So that means that we at least try to use as much of the polymers we already have in the market to reuse them, so that we can avoid to bring new raw materials in the circle. But nevertheless, we have still a lot of polymers going to the dump site. And yeah, what we actually wanted to have is a so-called fully circular bioeconomy. So that means we avoid taking fossil fuels and oil. We just take the bio-based resources we have in our world. We bring them in a sensible production, and we use them. And when we are ready with using it, we reuse them and bring them again into the circle, so that we have nothing on the dump site, that we have nothing that needs to be burned and things like that. zero waste, cradle to cradle. These are all these phrases maybe you have already heard that are on the market today. Here you can see, and this is the major point, we know that we have the climate change, and we know that carbon dioxide is the major reason for that, and that we currently have too much of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Yeah, and when thinking about where does the carbon come from, then we have the inorganic carbon parts, which is, for example, coal or diamonds, yeah, which needs years to be produced. We have the fossil carbon on the other side. Yeah, we have, this is the oil, for example, or the coal and gases. And we have the dissolved carbon. This is the carbon in the nature's plants. Yeah? And all of them can produce CO2, because for photosynthesis, it is used, as you know. Yeah, we create biomass. This biomass, when it is rotten, is again destructured to CO2. Yeah, and because the nature actually need it. But at the moment, we have too much of CO2 in the atmosphere, and this needs to be prevented. So we need to help the environment to save CO2 getting into our atmosphere. But at the end of the day, we need a lot of products. This is what here called technomass. Yeah? So products that helps us in our daily life. Think about what you have in your household. I guess there are a lot of products made of plastic. Yeah? And the target must be to substitute the oil-based plastics with bioplastic. Yeah, and I will show you today what we can do in the future to do that. This is just once again to show you, you know that, yeah, we need millions of years to create oil made of biomass. So it needs millions of years. That's why it's an endless source, and it does not make sense to get it out of the soil day by day. Yeah, because one day there will be no more oil. And the other thing is, when producing the oil to products, we need to differentiate: are the polymers biodegradable or are they durable? So durable means they have a long life, and they maybe just are degraded to macroplastic and then to microplastic. And this is what you also have heard, that we have a lot of macroplastic at the moment in the environment, and this is something that needs to be prevented. Yeah? In the end of the day, CO2 once again is produced. Yeah. But the differentiation is that biodegradability means that it is degraded usually in a few years, sometimes even in a few months. Yeah, and then when we produce the CO2 out of that, we need less than 1 year to generate new plants. And these new plants are the new resources for new biopolymer products. Okay, now getting to our coffee byproduct, because this is the interesting thing today. When we take a look into the nature and take here the cherry pulp as an example, we can see the things that are in the cherry pulp. Yeah, that means most of it is cellulose and hemicellulose. It's lignin. There are some proteins inside, tannins, fats, some organic acid, and caffeine for sure. And so you can see the Mother Earth do not need so many things to have functional products. And the coffee cherry pulp, right, is comparable like a package for our daily products. But in our package today, we have so many additives inside, and Mother Earth just need a few of that. And when we think, for example, about the cellulose and hemicellulose and lignin, they are mainly important for the mechanical properties. So that means that the coffee bean is protected by environmental things, by mechanical power, for example, etc. So that means this is important for the shape of our coffee bean. And there are things like lignin and tannin, and they are responsible for the weather conditions, so that it keeps stable, and that the coffee bean is protected for UV degradation and things like that. Yeah, so Mother Earth something has in mind with all of these products. And the question is now, how can we use these facts to produce bioplastics and additives made of these coffee byproducts? And here are some ways that are currently followed also by us in TwinsCrew, what we can do with coffee byproducts. As you can see on the button, for sure, maybe in the different countries where the coffee is grown, the people take it, throw it into the nature, and it has a naturally rotten process. Maybe other just burn it because they want to use the heat out of that, or maybe wants to make a barbecue, I don't know. Yeah, but we need to get in mind that during both of these processes, even of the natural process, CO2 is produced. Yeah, and as I told you, at the moment we have too much CO2 in the atmosphere, so that means we need to capture the CO2. We need to store the carbon if it is possible, and we maybe need to bring it back into a sensible circular way. So there are other ways, like for example, bringing all these coffee byproducts to a biorefinery. And what can happen there? With the help of this biorefinery, for example, we can win the cellulose monomers. As I've shown you, there's a lot of cellulose inside. By another process, out of the cellulose, ethylene glycol and FDCA can be win. Yeah, and with the help of these, for example, the biopolymer polyethylene furanate can be generated. And this is at the moment the most potential biopolymer for substituting polyethylene terephthalate, PET. Yeah, because it has, at the end of the day, the same properties. Can be used for bottles, and it comes from cellulose. Yeah. What we are focused more on are these 3 processing steps. We are focusing on, for example, pyrolyzers. So that means we take the coffee byproducts, we heat it up. We do not burn it. We just heat it up, prevent CO2. We really win back the carbon. And with the help of this carbon, is a perfect resource to combine it as an additive with a bioplastic and generates these new granulates. And with the help of these granulates, we can produce films, for example, agriculture films, milk films, yeah, as you maybe use in your fields. Or we can take this coal, yeah, and press it to briquettes, something like that. So it means you store the carbon, you prevent generating CO2, you store the carbon, and you can now use it. There are a lot of applications that you now can use with these carbon products. With the coal, for example, you can just bring it into the earth and prevent building carbon dioxide. Because the thing is, with 1 kilogram of carbon, you can prevent 3.3 to 3.7 kilograms CO2. So pretty huge, and it's a high potential to prevent generating CO2. Another way we are looking on is extraction. This means it's a step before refinery. We do not produce monomers. We just take the macromolecules as polymers as they are. And on the other side, we make a grinding and produce fibers. So I always try to say, keep it simple. Take this residue, dry it, grind it, produce a powder, and then, for example, produce new films out of that. So this is what we currently are doing. We take the residues, make a powder out of that, mix it with another polymer, biopolymer, and have these granules and have these films that can be used for different applications. This is we do with a so-called compounding process. Yeah, and when we have done the compounding, so compounding means mixing biopolymer with additive and produce a bioplastic, and then we go to film extrusion and produce films out of that. What is important? You see the granulates on the right side when we manage them, but when we produce films, we need heat, and due to shear, we bring a lot of stress into the polymer, but we need to melt down the polymer to bring it to shape. And as you can see, we have the melting at approximately 160 to 170 degree, and the processing window is very, very short because the so-called browning is starting pretty early after melting. And this needs to be prevented. Otherwise, you already destroy your product. So that's why it's a very, very short processing window. And to optimize that, we investigated parchment and the pulp, for example, bring it together with biopolymer by this compounding, as you can see. And then we analyzed when the material starts to degrade. And this is done with the help of DSC, or the so-called oxidant injection temperature. So that means the temperature when the material starts to degrade. And as you can see, by the help of 10 mass fraction of cherry pulp into a thermoplastic starch plant, we could increase these thermal property of about 27%. And also with parchment, because of the functional additives inside, we could increase that value of 20%. So this is pretty helpful for us. So because we have a broader temperature window to produce new films out of the biopolymers without destroying the polymers. And you can also use it for thermal insulating or as a flame retardant. Yeah, so these could be potential applications. So what could be the vision? We have now our cherries, all of you know that. We have the green beans, and on the other side, we have a lot of byproducts. For sure, the beans now goes to the roastery. There we have silver skin as a byproduct. Maybe then the coffee is grinded again. And on the other side, what we are doing now, we take now the byproducts produced on the farm, produce powder out of that. We take the silver skin, produce powder out of that. We take biopolymer, maybe also from coffee, as I've shown you, with the cellulose. And then we produce films. And with the films, maybe we can produce new packages. Yeah? As you can see now, then we have a package maybe full of coffee byproducts, and for sure with a lot of very delicious and well-grown coffee beans from you. This is just another example of what we already have done in Bavaria. We are currently situated in Hof. Yeah, and as you know, in Germany, we drink a lot of beer. And yeah, there we have a high density of breweries. Maybe you have heard about it. In Bavaria, the highest density of breweries. And actually, every brewery has its own fields with their own components, with the hope, with the quell water, and all the residues that we need. Yeah, for sure. Then one day the beer is produced out of that. And we also got the residue out of that, yeah, the beer residues. And we took the beer residues, we produced new granulates out of that, making the powder, and take a biopolymer. We have already certification and sheets, and we produced a beer box out of that and bring it back to the breweries so that they have their own package, their own transport media for their beer. But for sure, always the best way is if it goes directly into our throat, right? By drinking the delicious beer is more or less the same with your coffee, right? Don't take too much time. And so this could be how it could work in the future. So that means we should not go to these big circular economies. We should try to have smaller loops, very local loops. So wherever you are in this world, you have plants, you have cellulose-based materials, you have a lot of byproducts. So that means at the end of the day, maybe we have a lot of small loops and can create these kinds of application one day in all over the world. Here's just some other examples, what we already have done. We created these kind of step plates that are maybe useful if you have a very hilly landscape, right? To help creating ways or to help the environment to have a stable soil, right? You can use that fully based on bioplastics with residues, and they can be fully biodegradable so that you just use them as long as you need them in your soil. And what we also currently do is, for example, we take silver skin, and as you can see on the shape, what we're going to do with that, we want to produce papers, maybe for coffee filter. And as you can see, the structure before the extraction of the silver skin, and we did quite a lot of things to get the cellulose fibers out of the silver skin. And at the end of the day, we reached this kind of structure where you can already see the cellulose fibers. But to be honest, at the moment, we are not at that point when it is perfect to be used for a new paper, for example. But we are on the way of that. And this is, I think, the way we should go in the future. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I was maybe much too fast or hurry up a little bit. But this is what I wanted to show to you, what is possible today with coffee byproducts. And as you can see, at the moment, I'm not able to produce a big factory to do that. So that's why I produce this mobile factory to get from A to B, collect all these coffee byproducts and produce them, bring them into new products. So whenever you are interested to learn more about these things, you can go on our website or contact me directly. And our way is to research, to investigate, to produce small series in our own small factory, and for sure to teach the people, to educate them, starting from the school to people working with polymers, so that in the future we can avoid oil-based plastic and substitute them with bioplastics and with all of your nice byproducts. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Rennert. So I think seeing your last picture, we can also speak of coffee bike products. So something that can help you for your coffee bike. I think first good questions come into a drawing, and then they can ask you to come by with your bike and process all of the coffee byproducts. we then have to investigate the costs, of course, of you going by bike to maybe India or El Salvador, but those are details you can probably see later. Thank you so much for that presentation. I think it's an eye-opener also again to the industry, because so far everything was just going to the dumping sites, and therefore I think it is it's really very, very interesting to think about this. I want to say biomass, that we shouldn't just understand as a biomass to produce energy from, because it would be, again, way too sad. It's like already not using it as foods in a first step, but then using it, as you correctly and I think very, very nicely described, as an option to make some new products, to even get them back, like a coffee package, like a coffee filter, etc. Which of those products, let me just ask first, because still people are very shy. They don't dare to ask questions. They are afraid that they have to pay 1,000 euro, but we just lowered the price to 900 euros in the moment for the first question. So is there, if you would have to judge, but it's a little bit like gut feeling, would you say the one or the other product is more likely to be the first that can be used as a good base for creating a biopolymer or any other non-food application?
From the coffee byproducts, you mean?
So from the top of your head, would the product that can more easiest be used more be the parchment, the silver skin, the used coffee grounds, the dried cherry, the leaves, whatever?
Basically, for sure, it's always a question of the demand, also from the market. From processing side, I have actually at the moment no problem with all of the coffee byproducts. It's always a question of storing is always a big challenge, because most when you think about coffee ground, it's still wet, a lot of humidity. We need to get out the humidity out of that. And with silver skin, it's dry, it's okay, But the big challenge is really how to get contact to all of these bioproducts. It means logistic infrastructure. This is a huge challenge, and I think this is something that could be solved at the farms directly, where you have most of the bioproducts, especially at the beginning when earning the bean. From my side, currently, I think the cherry pulp has, from my perspective, the best option being used as an additive, because, as I told you, especially the tannin and the lignin as an UV stabilizers has a huge potential, to compensate, to substitute conventional oil-based products.
Okay. And if you had like a wish that you could tell the coffee industry, what would be something you would like to ask them, like to process byproducts in a different way? Because I think also cleaning the byproducts, getting them pure enough, is probably a central issue.
Yes, for sure. And this is the good thing that we now try to work together with, because you have direct contact to all the people who are primarily involved, basically, in this process. And this, I think, is important. The whole process change need to understand the potential of all these coffee byproducts. And when we have a clear infrastructure and we can show what is possible with that, we can try to compensate more and more the products and to use that. But as I have shown you, the small loops are important. It doesn't make sense if I collect the coffee ground in north of Germany and bring it to Munich and the opposite. So it need to be the challenge that smaller loops are being created. That means try to take what you already got into your house or your farm and use it again for your own production or products. And then I think we have a real chance to save transport, whatever. So that's why when we work with parchment and coffee cherry pulp, it's actually that we just want to show all the people working with coffee what is possible, and we need to transfer this knowledge to the farms, to the countries working with, especially fair trade coffee.
Okay, excellent. And here's the first question we get meanwhile. So 900 euros in on the account. That's good. So the question is, when do you think it will be possible to get the first coffee packages made out of coffee byproducts. So you have to be now very precise, probably is a lawyer asking, so anything you say wrong will be used against you now. So please try to enlighten us. Let's suppose there would be, I think this is how to understand the question, let's suppose there would be enough byproducts available for you. Like, how long would it approximately take to be able to use that?
Yeah, it's a good question, I would say. As you know, packages are the biggest application of all polymers at the moment. Yeah, so that means actually packages needed to be the first to be substituted by sensible bio-based byproducts. And what the people always ask is at first, how much does it cost? And is it the same as good as today coffee packages? And coffee packages, if you know, usually has a very high requirements regarding barrier properties. Yeah, barrier versus aroma, that the aroma keeps inside, and that no oxygen and water vapor gets into the package. This is actually still a problem, to be honest. Yeah, so that means we need to work on the barrier products of our bio-based products. And this is something that the coffee byproducts cannot solve alone. Therefore, we need maybe also some other biopolymers. And maybe you have heard polyhydroxyalkanoates. They are created by microorganisms. This is very interesting. We just had a conference on bioplastics where people just use their biomass sludge. So it's actually something that people would never use again. They just use the sludge, throw it into a big box together with some microorganism, and a few hours later they had a lot of bioplastic. And this PHA, which is the abbreviation, has a high potential for good barrier properties. So my hope is, and now it comes to the interesting point of when will be the time to have the first package, that my hope is to generate it really in the next 1 or 2 years to solve the barrier problem, because opening problems, sealing problems, being flexible enough is already solved, I would say. If it is okay for you, if the package at the end of the day has the color of your byproducts, then I think it can be solved. But when you take a look into a biomarket today, they use a lot of paper, brown paper, which gives the people a feeling of natural products. And as you have seen in the powder has the color of its byproduct. So if you accept that, maybe we can have the first prototype package in the next year. Yeah.
Well, it gets to a very bad idea. Not everything you see is brown is good and nice and natural. And not everything that is brown and warm is coffee. So another question, and I hope I understand the question right, is about coffee ware. Beside coffee chaff, are there any other coffee parts suitable to produce coffee ware? So I understand that this is like doing coffee cups or those kind of things. We both know, you and I, this is one of my personal preferences. This is one of my most deadly hated subjects, because there is so many additional products inside those. It's more like a greenwashing thing. But yeah. So let us hear your opinion and maybe some details about it.
This is also interesting. As I told you, we need to bring these results that we created as fast as possible into the head of the broad society. Last time I spoke to a producer of such cups, working with injection molding, and the people are really afraid that the plant-based material destroy their machines. I mean, they are made of iron. Yeah, nothing can destroy them. Actually, they are really afraid that their machines are destroyed, because this is our target, that the people do not need to buy new machines. When we convince them avoiding using conventional plastics and use real bio-based plastics, then they ask, do I have to buy a new machine? And no, you do not have to. You can use the machine you have. Maybe we need to operate a little bit with the process parameter, but that's it. But people are afraid at the moment. So it means we need to bring these facts into their heads, that it's not dangerous. It's bio-based. Nothing can happen to you. Come on. And other people were afraid that their products could be eaten by rats and mouses, for example, because at the end of the day, it's organic. Yeah. So these are these these are things that people have in mind and that they are afraid of.
But still, it is problematic when you think about coffee ware, like porcelain replacement. That often it's not just the natural product, but a lot of additives inside that massively can turn it into a sort of a, let's call it, pervert situation that is calling or trying to be natural, while we know it's much more toxic and unnatural as we imagine it to be, right?
Yeah, for sure. You mean that it is not the target to replace porcelain with plastic, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, there's those companies also here in Europe that produce coffee ware out of coffee byproducts, and we know that that is more like a marketing gag than a reality, and that they have a lot of really bad ingredients in it that makes it a big problem for our environment at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I know which product you mean. You mean this cup with the coffee ground, right? And where we found polyethylene inside. And yeah, small fractions of that can migrate into the coffee, and then you have it inside. And this cannot be good. Yeah. I mean, basically, I'm interested. I know from you that the to-go business is working. People like to-go products, but I mean, they are, meanwhile, people accept prices of 4 or 5 euro for a coffee in Berlin. And then they drink it within a few seconds. So what is the problem to take some time to drink it where you buy it, enjoy it, just 5 minutes of silence with the sun together, and that's it, and save byproducts. Because for sure, my target is not just to replace all conventional plastics. At first we should reduce basically the demand and the amount of plastic in the world, and yeah, saving bioplastics is also an option. Yeah.
Okay, so last question here. The question is, can extracted grounds, so coffee grounds, also from coffee shops, also be used in any way?
For sure, definitely. We have coffee in residues inside, which is a natural pesticide. Yeah, I think a big application could be milk films, so agriculture films, where you put your residues inside. My argument is also, by using byproducts, we can reduce the current high prices of bioplastic. Yeah, because when you think about the conventional oil-based plastic, the prices are between 1 and 2 euro per kilogram, and when you take a biopolymer, due to the lower demand at the moment, the prices are 5 euros per kilo and higher. And this is something that people say, I'm not willing to pay this high price. By using 50% coffee ground, which costs, I don't know, a few cents per kilogram, you can decrease the price to half of the original price of the biopolymer. But one day, when people will recognize that their scrap, their biomass, has a real value, they will also increase the prices for their coffee byproducts. And this is something we have to get in mind and already calculate in our prices, that one day the prices for the byproducts will increase. And yeah, then it has a certain value. But then hopefully also the prices for the biopolymers have decreased, and then we have a good balance to produce good materials. But yes, for sure, coffee ground is, I don't know how many millions of tons we produce every year, is a very huge and potential source to produce these small loops, as I have shown to you.
Yeah, thank you. I think, thank you, Dr. Rennert, and thank you to all of the speakers of the day. I think this was a very great impulse today on the question of how to use coffee byproducts and what can be made out of them from different food. We saw some general ideas from Dr. Lachenmeier about the food regulations, then Dr. Jörg Ricketts-Zapp about the coffee leaf tea, and Ennio Cantagiani on the cascara and the desperate situation on the legal side in that moment, and heard some also refreshing, nice ideas of how to use coffee byproducts in non-food applications. I'll be very glad to meet you all again tomorrow. We'll have the second session tomorrow. The subject will be coffee cultivation. It will also start again at 11, and I would be really happy to see you all again here at Intergastra Digital, Coffee Symposium Digital 2021. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you today, seeing you again tomorrow and on Wednesday, because this is a 3-day event, and we will always be here from 11 to 1, and on Wednesday even from 11 to 2 o'clock. So thank you all for joining us. and hope to see you again tomorrow and Wednesday.